42.
515, больше 2, 31, 42. Выстрел!
Over the past several days, Israel has launched a ground offensive in Gaza City, escalating a conflict that has already claimed countless lives. Helicopters, drones, bombs, and warplanes have struck densely populated areas, forcing hundreds of thousands of residents to flee their homes as the invasion intensified. What began as an act of self-defense has now escalated into a large-scale offensive. But what many people don't realize is that this modern conflict may have been predicted thousands of years ago in the Bible. And it isn't just a single verse or vague mention. 4 different biblical prophets, separated by centuries, appear to have foreseen it. In this video, we'll examine the biblical prophecies surrounding Israel's ongoing conflict in Gaza and uncover what they may reveal about the nation's destiny. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spearheaded this campaign. Despite facing criticism both domestically and internationally, and despite Israel's economy struggling under nearly 2 years of wartime conditions, the country has launched this offensive. Why now when Israel is weaker than it has been in decades? Some believe the answer lies in Scripture. In Genesis, God makes a promise to Abraham. To your descendants I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates. This promise is repeated in the Torah and is often referred to as the vision of Greater Israel. Achieving this vision would involve lands that today belong to multiple modern nations: Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Turkey. Some dismiss this as mere theory, but consider Netanyahu's own words during a public interview. The implication is staggering. Modern political moves may align with ancient prophecy, and the invasion of Gaza could be part of a broader plan to reclaim biblical territories. The Bible calls the region now known as Gaza, Philistia. This coastal territory once contained 5 major cities: Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath. The Philistines were Israel's fiercest enemies for centuries. They dominated, enslaved, and killed Israelites, thanks to their mastery of iron technology, while Israel still relied on bronze weapons. Several prophets spoke of this region and its eventual fate. Amos, prophesying some 3,000 years ago, delivered a stark warning for Gaza. For 3 sins of Gaza, even for 4, I will not turn back my wrath. I will send fire on the walls of Gaza that will consume her fortresses, and the remnant of the Philistines will perish. Amos described total destruction. Fire would consume their walls, their fortresses would crumble, and the people would vanish. Historically, the Philistines did disappear, leaving only the name Gaza as a testament to their existence. Yet the Bible reveals an even deeper purpose. The Philistines were left to test Israel, to teach them the ways of war and trust in God. They were never meant to be merely obstacles. They were instruments in a larger divine plan. Another prophet, Zephaniah, brought an extraordinary prophecy. For Gaza will be abandoned. That land will belong to the remnant of the house of Judah. Here the message is clear. Destruction of Gaza would be followed by a transfer of the land to Israel. It wasn't just a warning, it was a promise of reclamation. Zechariah, writing after the Babylonian exile, confirmed this vision. He described Gaza's anguish and predicted, "The king of Gaza will perish. A foreigner will live in Ashdod, and I will put an end to the pride of the Philistines." These passages do more than narrate conquest. They forecast the replacement of populations and a definitive shift in control. Historically, Gaza fell multiple times. Alexander the Great in 332 BC, the Romans, and later Arab conquerors. Yet the struggle never ended because the conflict over Gaza was never merely political, it was spiritual. From the time of Samson, whose humiliation and vengeance in Gaza demonstrated God's power, to King David and King Solomon, and through the warnings of prophets Amos, Jeremiah, and Zephaniah, Gaza represented a frontier, the edge of God's promised land and the threshold of resistance. But why is this relevant now? Because Israel's modern state exists as a direct fulfillment of prophecy. Israel's exile, scattering, and eventual return mirror the vision Ezekiel received in the Valley of Dry Bones. Ezekiel saw a valley filled with lifeless bones, representing Israel exiled and spiritually dead. God asked him, "Son of man, can these bones live again?" Through divine instruction, Ezekiel prophesied to the bones. Tendons, flesh, and skin appeared. Then the breath of God, the Ruach, brought them to life. This was Israel's restoration in three stages: physical return, political reconstruction, and spiritual awakening. The first two stages have occurred. The third, the outpouring of God's Spirit, remains. History validates this prophecy. After nearly 2,000 years of exile, following the horrors of the Holocaust and centuries of persecution, Israel was reborn on May 14, 1948. Jewish people returned from over 100 countries, reviving their language, culture, and faith. The physical and political resurrection was complete, yet the spiritual fulfillment Ezekiel foresaw, the collective reception of God's breath, has yet to occur. While Israel thrives as a nation, millions remain spiritually unawakened, awaiting the fulfillment of the Ruach prophecy, which will ignite a national and global transformation. Other prophets reinforce this vision. Jeremiah wrote, "I will put my law within them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people." Joel declared, "I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh." Zechariah predicted a day when Israel would see the Messiah and experience profound spiritual awakening. Paul confirmed this in Romans. Partial blindness would remain until the full number of Gentiles comes in, and then all Israel will be saved. Today, Israel's return, revival of Hebrew, and emergence as a global center of attention align perfectly with these prophecies. Every conflict, every war, every threat becomes a marker in a prophetic timeline. Gaza remains central, a symbol, a frontier, and a stage for what unfolds next. Ezekiel also foresaw a climactic conflict. Gog, prince of Magog, leads a coalition against Israel. Nations like Persia, Iran, Cush, Sudan, Put, Libya, and Togarmah, Turkey, converge against Jerusalem. Yet God declares, "I will bring you up against my land, so the nations may know me." This battle is divine in purpose, a revelation of God's ultimate plan, echoed by Zechariah and in Revelation, where 144,000 faithful Israelites are sealed for a final mission during the end times. Israel isn't merely a nation, it is a prophetic clock. Its rebirth, struggles, and triumphs all signal the unfolding of God's plan. The final stage, the descent of the Ruach, the spiritual awakening, will be a global event, completing Ezekiel's vision and fulfilling centuries of prophecy. So as we watch modern conflicts, like the current invasion of Gaza, we must ask, are these events isolated, or are they markers along a prophetic timeline written thousands of years ago? Every battle, every political move, every struggle over Gaza is part of a story that began in Scripture and is still unfolding today. The Bible is not just history, it is a map, a clock, a warning, and a promise. In Israel, the fig tree has sprouted its leaves. The prophetic countdown continues. When the breath of God finally comes, the world will witness the last stage of Israel's restoration, a spiritual revival that will reshape history. Now, after everything you've seen, the question is yours. Do you recognize the signs unfolding before our eyes? Which side of history will you stand on? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more insights into how current events align with biblical prophecy. If you haven't yet, check out our video, "Is Israel Still God's Chosen People?" to explore who Israel truly is today and whether God's promises continue to hold. God bless.